I do.
Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me, returning her triumphant return to the podcast, the one and only 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Webber. What is up, Sus?
My triumphant return.
Hey, I'm excited you're back. We're all excited you're back.
I shouldn't be back, so that's okay.
Well, you know what? I unfortunately, sometimes things don't work out the way that we obviously want them in the football community. As our guest here, Birmingham City goalkeeper Hannah Hampton knows. But honestly, we're just excited to have you back because your analysis of the game. We were just talking about this, Saskia, before we kind of get into the show and everything like that. But this past year, I played soccer for the first time yesterday in a year. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a smarter player, despite the fact that my fitness level is at the level of like a rec player at 9 years old right now. Like, other than that, though, my game has gone through the roof just because of the podcast.
No, I am a 10 times smarter player than when I played. I only wish I could still play because it'd be interesting to see how what's up here could translate. But those days are kind of past. So.
Well, somebody whose days are not past in any way whatsoever is a rising Lioness star right here, Hannah Hampton. Hannah, first off, thanks for finally making it happen. I know, like I said before we were on the air, that it's been a challenging year, to say the least, at Birmingham. Why don't you catch up, some of the people? First off, congratulations on staying up. A lot of us here, in the United States who don't recognize the fact that in the women's game overseas, it's just like in the men's game. There's promotion, relegation, and honestly, that is a struggle. That is a struggle, and it's a grind every day to get those results. So congratulations for staying up, first off.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a really tough year. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Playing football is something that I obviously love doing, along with all the other teammates. But to say we've been through brick walls this year is a bit of an understatement. We've definitely put up with quite a bit, but it's a great fun at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, that this type of adversity, first off, everyone faced adversity this year, so even at the highest levels, I mean, obviously UCLA, Saskia, you guys all had the situation where, now I know I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that.
It's okay. We haven't talked about it. I'm okay.
Are you okay? So, Hannah, to catch you up here, UCLA was outstanding this year in the regular season, and unfortunately, as we all know, when it comes to playoffs, things can happen in a one-off match situation, and penalties are an unforgiving beast, are they not, Saskia?
They are. It's just, it's all right. Come back and win it in the fall. It's okay. Yeah. It's my therapy session, so it's all right.
Now, Hannah, what one of the things obviously that you all had to struggle with, and I promise you we will talk goalkeeping and talk about something positive in a second, but I do want to catch up our audience because I think that your guys' story is pretty important, because you obviously had a situation where you weren't sure what your management situation was going to be, near the beginning of the season. You had a situation in regards to lack of players availabilities for one reason or another for matches, and you still, as the number one, as the goalkeeper, you have to take a leadership role in that situation and still find a way to get those results, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we started pre-season with 8 players. We started pre-season with no manager. So it's definitely been a struggle since the beginning, but when we went through all the problems we faced, we all came together as a team, and that's one thing that's really helped us this year, is that we're such a together-knit group that we could literally fight for each other. You look to your left, you look to your right, you look in front, and you look back behind each other on the pitch, and you know that they've all got your back. So I think that's what's really helped us and really ground out the results, really, to get us the points and help us stay up. But yeah, it's been a struggle, but it's sad it's over, really. I'd rather go through a struggle every day than it being over now.
You know, I mean, you yourself, you had a great season in regards to yourself. Obviously, you know, you've had the rise, like we were talking about. The fact, congratulations on your first senior call up. I mean, you're what, 20 years old right now?
Yeah.
Saskia, oh my God, does this bring you back, Saskia? When you all were young pups coming through the national team ranks?
It does. It does. Although when I was 20, there was no pro leagues. So, well, there were, but no, it does. Call-ups are amazing, and now you want to stay there. You know, and but it's just, you know, you're 20. It's just the beginning of your career, and I know how great that, whether it was a phone call, text, email, I don't even know what they do anymore. For us, it was a piece of paper on a door. But I know how amazing that feels because of all the hard work you put in to get that call up. So well done.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And by the way, Hannah, don't wait for a question to be asked to you. Just step in any time you want. We have no Omar Zini right now because he's too busy being a professional coach.
Whatever. He's
I
such
know.
a poser.
He's like, sorry guys, I can't make the show. We've got a scouting meeting now. I'm like, oh, okay, Mr. Fancy Pants here. Scouting meeting.
Whatever.
But yeah, you don't have to wait for a question. Like, step in anytime you want. So if anything that, you know, comes to your mind, feel free to step in. But kind of going back to that with the Birmingham situation, I think a lot of people don't recognize the fact that, you know, with the WSL still a growing league and everything like that, you know, the balance of power, sometimes it's a little bit difficult, you know, some of the results might not go the way you planned, and it's not because of, you know, any lack of effort or anything like that. It's just a lot of times it's just different resources for different programs and things like that. And, you know, that's a struggle. And I think personally myself, you know, Saskia, you had the situation in New York where you had a rough season, but yourself personally, you had, you know, a pretty solid season in regard, you know, despite that kind of those results.
I'm like, which season? No. Which season? I've never had to start the season with 8 players though. So I mean, that's kudos.
First.
Kudos. I mean, are you even allowed to field an 8-player team? I don't know. Isn't there like a cutoff? I'm like, but you know, I thought what you said was incredible, that you had to rely so much on each other and your commitment. And when you look to the left and look to the right, and it makes me think, I will bring this back, but it makes me think of our UCLA team this year. And with going through everything with COVID, with it being split, with all the stuff that was going on, you know, you just saw a team that really came together as a team. And, you know, that's the way to get through what you had to go through.
Yeah, I think,
for sure.
I think definitely togetherness. I mean, our league is very unpredictable. You get teams at the bottom of the league winning teams at the top, so you get taking points off each other. So it's been very, very competitive. Yes, there's still that big gap between the top 5, even 6, and the bottom teams. There's not really that middle ground. But it's definitely great that it's competitive and everyone's taking points of each other. You never know where everyone's finishing. I was quite surprised Bristol ended up at the bottom and getting relegated, because I think towards the end of the season they started getting results here, there, and everywhere, and I thought they were going to get that big comeback. So I love personally. I love that. Like, I love being like the fact you can be relegated. I love the way that goes into everything in points, and you know, because every game's important. And no matter where, like, even if you are at the bottom, you know that the next game is just so important, because you don't want to be relegated. Same with the top 5. They don't want to drop either. So I love, you know, the way that's set up. I wish the MLS was set up like that. And so on. I think that's the way to do it, because you'll get like last place teams beating first place teams because they have to bring it. Yeah, exactly. I think it's great. And especially with the first place, they're not just fighting for winning, they're fighting for Champions League spots.
Exactly.
But I personally, I'd love the league to be bigger. I think we should have probably relegated 1 and brought 2 up from the league below. Because because at the minute we've got 12 in the top league, and I think we could probably expand it to at least 14, which would be nice because it would be a bit more a longer season, a bit more competitive, and then maybe you could keep doing 2 up, 2 down, or 1 up, 1 down. But once you've got a bigger league, because I just think the season finishes too early. Or you cram the games in just because you've had a bigger time off at one part of the season, which it's quite hard having time off and then going back into about 3 games in a week, which has been quite hard.
That's a lot. I mean, that just.
Loads of our games,
that's a lot.
Yeah, loads of our games kept getting called off. So I think we played 6 games in 2 weeks, which was so different. And then we had like 2 weeks off, and then we were back in. And I'm like, why can't we just spread it out a bit more? Well, obviously it's like national period, but if you're not with your international, you get the rest. If you don't, you're off on camp, and then you're back in. And so I just feel like if they spread it out a bit evenly, then it would have been a lot better. But there's always going to be challenges with football, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think, one of the things, Hannah, that it's funny that you brought up the level below all of you and everything like that, because we had, one of the goalkeeper coaches from Blackburn on the podcast a while back. And, a lot of us here in the United States were familiar with the WSL. Obviously, there's a TV deal, so we get to see it here on TV and everything like that. And yes, they feature a lot of the, kind of the bigger name clubs and things like that. But we're starting to get a little more familiar with the entire league. But a lot of people are not familiar with the level directly below. What is that level like? Are some of those teams comparable to the teams in WSL?
Yeah, definitely. We've got like cup games and Cup and Continental Cup, and they're mixed within the WSL, and they're getting results off each other. And I think especially with the season, like next season, a lot of the championship teams are going full time, so they're taking it more professional and putting more money into the women's game, which is great to see. So hopefully the top 2 tiers of women's football is now going to be very competitive with each other, and then we can get the 3rd and the 4th teams to then up their standards as well and up their backing from the women's team, and then it can be a proper infrastructure with the whole women's leagues alongside with the men.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think, that's just so important, and obviously, and we will get to the topic in a second. By the way, shout out to Matt Doyle. Matt Doyle, who's over at Birmingham City, recently just did a session with Hannah, and he's like, I'm definitely going to watch. I'm like, that's a positive thing, right? Because you just did a session with her.
Yeah, totally. I've known him since 14. I mean, when I was at Stoke, he was one of the coaches at Stoke. So he's great.
I mean, I always love that how small the the goalkeeping world is and everything like that. I think one of the things that really
that's me.
Oh, that's you.
I was turning on my thing.
Oh, there you go. So we can follow along here. No, but I was going to say the fact is that you actually came through after you left Stoke, and actually you were forward to start off with, which is I think one of the reasons why this topic is going to be so up your alley when we're talking about distance balls and everything like that. But when you made that transition over to goalkeeper, and you headed to Birmingham, I mean it's one of the reasons why it's been so special that you've been able to come through that system, that academy system, into the first team at such a young age, and why it has a certain special place in your heart.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is my 5th year at Birmingham now. So it's definitely been a journey. I think did 1 game under 16s. So I signed for the academy and I did 1 game under 16s. Then I got moved up to the development squad. And I think I did like half a game, maybe 1 game. And then I got moved straight up to first team when I was 15. And the coach was Mark, obviously the one at Orlando Pride now. So Mark Skinner took me straight up to first team when I was 15, which I'm forever grateful for him. So, yeah, it's been great.
Gosh, man, 15 years old in the pro environment. I mean, that's just as a goalkeeper too. I mean, that's just talk about learning real quick in that environment. All right, let's move on to this topic. I mean, I did want to talk about the fact that you did do the brackets, with Sandy on biscuits, but I don't know if we're going to have that much time to go into.
Did you agree with it? Did you agree with the winner?
I think it was some pretty solid choices right there. Also, there were some very valuable arguments that were being made there in regards to the consistency of the biscuit. And for those of you guys in the United States watching this, we were talking about cookies. Cookies are biscuits. Yeah, that's what we call it. We call it cookies. Yeah.
I didn't do that.
So in case go ahead, Saskia.
It's a broad area. Cookies or biscuits? Okay. Like, what?
All right, let's go into the topic, guys. Today we're going to be talking about breaking lines and hitting distance balls with purpose. Hannah, for some of the parents out there who might be listening and might not kind of be familiar with the terminology we're using here, what do we mean by breaking lines?
Well, beating the press. So if you've got the front line of the press, then playing in between two of your players, so you get them out of the game and you have less players to deal with up the pitch further, is what I've always known it as, kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, I think you brought up a really good point there in regards to the beating of the press, and that is essentially the thing, Saskia, is like we're trying to beat this press however possible. To play possession sometimes in that scenario when we're being pressed isn't the best way to go about it.
Well, it's just which line do you want to play possession in? So if you beat that first line of the press and you bypass it and you go to the second line, depending on what formation they're playing, you could knock up to like 4 people out of the scenario, and now you can play possession within the midfield into their attacking third. So really, it's not necessarily bypassing and just giving a 50-50 ball up. It's with a purpose.
Yeah. And I think the purpose thing is so important, Hannah, obviously. I mean, one of the great things is we're going to watch some clips of you later on, but every time you hit a long ball, no, they're good. They're good clips. Trust me. They're good. They're good. I saw your face. You're like, oh, I wasn't prepared for that. Like, I thought we were just going to chat for an hour. Like, this is not.
Oh,
no, he loves playing with his little gadget, so he's going to put up the clips.
But I did want to say this is that, a lot of times young goalkeepers, when they think of hitting a ball for distance, they think like emergency situation, clearing the ball. But what I love about when I see you hit a ball for distance is there's a purpose to it. There's a specific target area, and there has to be, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think now that it's more of a modern game and keepers have to be more used to using their feet, I think there's got to be less excuses for just hitting a ball for emergency. I think there's got to be more purpose about it, like you've been saying, and for firstly, your attack begins with your goalkeeper. So I think whatever your passes, you've got to have an idea in your head on what you want the person receiving the ball to do, or what your own thoughts are, so you can start the attack.
And this is something that you practice. It's talked about. If let's say you're bypassing 2 lines and going up top, what's the situation up there? Are you hitting it so that it can be flicked on where your other forward is rolling off and going into space? Are you playing into space behind? What spaces are you playing into with that long ball behind their defense? It's a pass. It's not, you're not just kicking the ball away. So, and like we said, with, there's a purpose to it. I mean, yes, you do have to clear the ball sometimes, but in a controlled environment,
your decision making is also dependent upon your outfielders' movements.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you recognise what their movement patterns are, and obviously the more you play with them, the more you're going to know. But if you've got a number 9 coming short, then it's a decoy run for your 7 or your 11 or your wide players to go in beyond and make that out to in run, so you can hit them. Or if it is to the number 9, rather than coming in, they'll hold out. Then it's to their chest or to bounce off, to interlink with everyone else and get them involved.
Yeah.
Hannah, I love the fact that you just brought that up, because that's something that I think a lot of young goalkeepers don't recognize. The fact is how important scanning that field, and having that idea of where those runs are going before you make that play. I think a lot of young kids, they wait until they have possession of the ball and then they go, okay, now what do I do? And the game's obviously too fast for that.
You've definitely got to scan, because I think you can catch the opposition off guard. If you've scanned and you've just received the ball from your centre back and you know that your number 9 and your 7 is 2v1, then you can hit a long ball into the target area, into the space, and they can go 2v1 into attack. But I think if you've just received the ball and now you're scanning, it's going to give time for the opposition to slide back over, shift across, and then it becomes 2v2 or even 3v2 once their back line is back in shape. So you've definitely got to scan before is what I've always put my priorities with.
Yeah, I mean, and I think when you said that in regards to the scan before, is that we need to start doing that, Saskia, as coaches. We need to start ingraining that in young goalkeepers and take the time in sessions to stop it and have them take that mental picture and freeze frame that and maybe film it and then show it in the video analysis and everything like that. Because I think that personally, Saskia, from a coaching standpoint, I think that's one of the issues that we're having, is that we're grazing over these things in the development stages.
I'm not.
Okay, well, I'm not saying you. I'm saying the footballing world in general. I love how I'm pointing right at you, and
I'm like, you're like,
you haven't seen my sessions right now. What are you talking about?
Who are you talking to?
She's like, I don't think you understand. Our goalkeeper was regional goalkeeper of the year. Like, I don't know what to say. Shout out to Lauren for that.
No, but yes, I mean, these are things that they're imperative, and the coaches, you have to work with it within your sessions and everything, that quick transition. But the goalkeeper, 100%, Hannah, the goalkeeper, you have to know what's going on before, because that split, those seconds that you take to assess the situation after you receive the ball is too late. And you're dead on with that. That gives them a chance to get back into their shape, which is the whole point of possession and moving the ball, 1-2 touch, and good efficient passing is to catch them out of shape. So, and to break lines.
I think it's also based on, if you've got a team that's high pressing you and you've not scanned, then you're going to be blindside pressed and they're just going to win the ball straight back off you. Or if you've scanned beforehand and you realize they're going to high press and you've got someone coming on your blind side, then you can readjust your movement beforehand and be more proactive, to give you a bit more space and a bit more time to make your decision and execute your pass.
Absolutely.
So I think that's we do a lot of sessions based on scanning and recognizing where to go, and I think most of the time I have about 3 seconds to get rid of the ball and make sure it's the right pass. So I've got to do scanning beforehand.
Yeah.
Hannah, you're 20 years old. Are you kidding me?
I know. I was like, are you not allowed to play in college?
Saskia's like, what are the rules again for pros going back to the amateur
I was just
game?
thinking that. I was like,
but Saskia, I mean, we're joking here, but I think that shows a lot of the fact that Hannah, you've been in the professional environment since you were 15.
You were 15. Yeah.
Since you were 15, and Saskia, this is something that we've discussed here in the United States. And Hannah, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but a lot of the NWSL clubs are starting to have youth academies as well too, and how much more intelligent the players are when they're around, when they're thrown into that environment, and they're thrown into, for a lack of a better term, it's not just the speed of play, but it's also the cerebral speed of play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been told it's the speed of movement, your speed of thought. That's always what my coaches have been yelling at me. So something I've had to do a lot of with all the analysis and looking back, taking loads of visual images. And when I get into the situation again, I pretty much know what I've got to do because I've watched it back. I've been in situations like that before, and you basically learn from your errors. And I think analysing your game is such a big thing nowadays. Yeah.
Saskia, I got a question for you. Do you think that at the youth levels, coaches are just worried about using words like hit ball for distance because of the literalization of younger goalkeepers, and because they don't explain the why, they just say, you know what, I'd rather just focus on them just building out. I don't want to teach them how to pass for distance because I'm scared they're just going to keep booting the ball.
Well, I think one of our biggest problems in youth sport, in youth soccer here, is that They want results. That's it. And they want to win. And I get it, but how much are you not developing your goalkeepers then? You know, is your fear that if you're trying to develop this keeper to, you know, hit with a purpose, hit a long ball with, like, you know, direction, be that first pass and attack, and it goes wrong 10 times, like, then is it just like, well, just get it out, just kick it, you know, and we'll figure it out. And I think we see that a lot of coaches fall into that pressure to win when it should be pressure to teach. I mean, nobody cares if, you know, the whatever team loses to the whatever team. It's not on your college like application and nobody's looking at it, and it really doesn't matter. But what matters is if the kid's learning how to play, you know, soccer or football correctly.
Yeah, I personally think, though, hitting for distance and making it an actual pass are two different techniques.
Absolutely. And
I think rather than, I mean, I'm really naive and I really do not know a lot about the college systems over in America. I know quite a bit, but not a lot. But I just feel like if you get them to just hit it long, you're not teaching them the right technique. And I think if you've taught them the technique in order to make a useful pass or make a purpose, then it's completely different. And I think if you really hone in on that sort of technique, it adds to their locker. And, you know, you can always use that. And I think there's so many different techniques. I never even realised myself. I just thought, you know what, let's just smash a ball and hope it gets to where completely not.
Well, because that's what they teach, but that's the point. That's what they teach kids. Just smash the ball and it'll get up there and we'll, you know, live to fight another day, and, you know, we'll have our forwards or our midfield pick it up and do what they have to do. When now with the evolution of the game, you should be able to, like, whether it's a side volley, if we're talking about whether it's a side volley, you should be able to put it on somebody's chest or put it on somebody's foot or skip it onto their run into space or put it on their head for a flick. There has to be a purpose. Yeah. And if you're not teaching your young goalkeepers that, they're behind.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I'm gonna give an example right here. You know, one of the things that you were talking about is that hitting for distance and making a pass and a long distance pass are two completely different things in regards to the mind. I think one of the problems is that right now, at least in the United States, and I'm not sure how it is in the UK, but at the introductory levels, is they're teaching technically how to hit for distance, but they're not going about it from a tactical standpoint. Where to hit that ball, what space to hit that ball,
and
where's the target, and why. I can't tell you how many times, Hannah, I've had a parent, you know, contact me and be like, my child needs help with goal kicks. I'm like, okay, what do you mean by that? They're like, well, they don't hit them very far. And I'm like, okay, but what's the purpose of a goal kick? It's to play the ball into a target area so that we can move the ball up the field. So, like, that means that their coach has been telling them they need to work on hitting the ball farther.
Just fine.
Okay, but why? But why?
And then you have coaches that don't even want to deal with it, and they bring in, like, somebody that can kick the ball really far, and then they take the goal kicks and they boot it. And it's like, what are you doing?
I think to begin with, though, I think you have just got to get the technique of just smashing a ball correct to begin with, in order to then go to the sub techniques kind of thing. And I've had that many people myself come up to me and go, how on earth do I kick a ball like you? And I'm like, you've got to go through all the years that I've had to go through. It's not just overnight I'm having all these different techniques that I can use.
Well, yeah, you have to learn the skill to get that skill under control.
Yeah.
Period.
Oh,
then you can slow it down. Then you can and I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the technical aspect, but, you know, I mean, to play devil's advocate here, I think the thing is that there needs to be a combination of the two. I mean, I had a session yesterday with a little boy, and, you know, we were talking about this, and he was saying, he's like, I didn't hit it far enough. I'm like, but why did you want to hit it far? We need to teach these kids. Yes, technically clean, but we also got to give them targets too. We got to teach them to learn technique to hit with accuracy, as opposed to just just hit the ball. And I think honestly, Hannah, I think the fact that you started out as a field player, and by the way, shout out to the fact that, they recognize the fact that you might have a little bit of ability as a goalkeeper as well too. But that, you're also comfortable on the field as well. And then they let you make the decision later on as you progressed in your career, where you wanted to, kind of take your talents to specialize or whatever. But I think that's one of the reasons why you hit so cleanly for distance.
Yeah, definitely. I think outfielders helped me massively. And I also think because of where I started my football, I started in Spain. Obviously, the Spanish philosophy is that tiki-taka, pass and moves style. So that's obviously helped me massively with playing out from the back and beating press. So that's a huge part of my game. And I think if I didn't start in Spain, or if I wasn't even an outfielder, my distribution wouldn't be anywhere near as what it is.
Yeah, you just brought up a really good point in regards to just like the focus on what are you trying to get out of your goalkeeper, and like whatever you give them, is what they're going to learn. Obviously in Spain, you're talking about tiki-taka, like, so if that's where your emphasis is, then that's what the goalkeeper is going to have. It doesn't mean that they can't hit for distance. It just means that, you hadn't put that on their plate yet, And Saskia, I know this is a conversation we've had, is that, you'll get a player and they've never been asked to do a specific thing, at the level that they've played at, but you saw the kind of those qualities in them, prior. And just because they're not doing it with their team doesn't mean that they don't have those qualities.
Right. It depends on what their coach's and team's philosophy is. But but even at this level, even at the UCLA level, there's certain skill sets that need to be started earlier, and like even Lauren had to work when she was behind Tegan. Before I was a coach there, I know that she was constantly working on her distribution and her like hitting a ball with purpose and direct and on point, and now she's phenomenal at it. But it took work, and you would think that coming into a team like UCLA, that those kids already have it, but a lot of them don't. They don't. Yeah, and that comes from their coaches not emphasizing it and not working on it, and like I said, just trying to get results. And
Well, was I even like the session that I did yesterday with the kid yesterday, and I'm not going to put a little kid on blast or whatever type of thing, but his parents go, well, when are we going to get to the shooting? When are we going to get to the shooting? When do we get to the shooting? Because like in their mind, like that's goalkeeper training. So like, they start freaking out because they're like, well, he does this stuff with his team. He does this stuff with his team coaches. He does this passing stuff with his team coaches. And again, Hannah, maybe. Again, it's a little more, part of the culture in the UK than it is, it's growing in the United States, but there's still some people who don't come from a footballing background. And I think that's sometimes a difficult thing because their image of what they expect a session to be and what the goalkeeper's needs are based on the demands of the game are very different.
Oh, in our training, I absolutely hate doing any shot stopping. I'll always try and chat to the goalkeeper coach, to the manager, and be like, well, can I join the outfielders for today? The amount of times I'll try my best to get it, and join like all the rondos and the passing patterns, and I love it. I'll become like a centre back and do all the spreading. I'd love it.
I love when how I feel about keepers being in rondos and everything. It's imperative, and it depends on the shot stopping, because if you've got a field player coach setting up a shooting drill, it usually is just destroy the keeper drill, whether it's like power finesse or whatever it is. And I get on our assistant coaches because they'll pass the balls in, and I'm like, are you trying to kill the goalkeeper right now? Like, that's a hospital ball. Like, it's like, that's not even realistic. Like, I get on Sam all the time, and you just, oh, great, I'm glad Mia just blew Lauren into the back of the net. Who wouldn't? But
it's when they pass the ball in and you're still on the floor from the previous shot. They're not letting you get. And I'm like, you want the keeper in the session or not? I'm in danger.
It's so true. I kick Sam to the curb. I'm like, I will serve the balls. Like, I'll do it. And I give like messed up balls or balls with more pace. That they really have to figure it out. Else, And sometimes I'm just like, the goalkeepers will look at me. I'm just like, just walk away. I'm like, just whatever.
But just in regards to session design, Saskia, you brought up a good point. And Hannah, you saying, I mean, by the way, I don't want anybody out there to think that like we don't think shot stopping is an important part of goalkeeping.
It's incredibly important if it's done properly. Like, what's the goal here? Are you trying to fluff up your forwards, like make them feel really good about themselves, or are you trying to train your forwards and your keepers? Like, what's the goal? Because then you really don't need a goalkeeper in the goal. I agree with you. Just better have a trainer on staff.
Or just put mannequins in, and they have to hit certain areas of the goal.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Hannah.
They do so many shooting drills at the end of the session, like extras, and they'll shoot into an empty net. So I'm like, what's the difference? Just give us the extra time then.
I love when they pass the ball when you're still on the ground. That's my favorite.
Really infuriating.
And so I'll tell my keepers if it's like 3-tiered shooting or something, I will be like, pick 1 or 2. And I'll be like, and if you're really out of position, and focus on the first shot. The second shot, they usually kick the ball in while you're still saving the first shot. Yeah. So just bypass that. Let them shoot into the empty net, and then go for the third shot.
Yeah. Like, what annoys me though is, say you've like not gone for the shot because you're being selective and giving yourself extra time to recover. Is they've gone and scored that shot that you've not gone for, and everyone's raving, going, "Oh my god, what a goal! What a goal!" And you're like, "I could have saved that," and now they're off cheering, chanting. It's really infuriating.
You're like, yeah, and you're like, I'm still saving the first one.
I know, and I'm like, I could have got it. Like, give me a chance. I know.
There's a question in the comment section here that's actually really brilliant right now. Is that Adam Ralstein's bringing up the fact that at the younger ages, because so many young goalkeepers have a dominant foot, they just keep emphasizing that dominant foot to them over and over again. Why, Saskia? Again, because of results. They want to make sure that the action is executed properly. If that final action isn't appropriate, isn't successful, well, then the team's going to suffer or whatever. So because of that, they don't allow that risk of that goalkeeper working on that weak foot. And Hannah, I'm sure you've even seen it at the higher levels, goalkeepers who are so dominant on one side that you're tactically telling your team from a scouting report standpoint where to press because of where.
No, I've a lot of the goalkeepers in the WSL are quite 1 foot dominant, and I've always told like the strikers, if you press it so it goes onto the left foot, don't allow them to open up onto the right, because they'll spray a pass and you're doing a 50-yard sprint rather than a 10-yard sprint. So it's one thing that is definitely noticeable in the WSL, but I think I take pride in my game that I don't let opposition do that to me. So they'll look at video clips of me and I will happily smash a ball with not smash a ball, like play a purpose pass with my left foot and with my right foot. I'll try and make sure that both feet are the same and I can do each technique with. I think the only thing I can't do on my left so far is a side volley, but I'll get there.
Oh my gosh!
Again, are you not allowed to play in college?
Yeah, I know. Jessica's just looking like she's like I could. She's like there's got to be some sort of loophole here. Can you change your name? Oh my gosh. But no. Honestly, Hannah, we're speaking of tape. I want to start pulling up some tape here. So I know. Don't get your face. By the way, I love the fact when you were like, you smash a ball. I mean, smash a ball with purpose, like just in case.
Yeah,
we've just been talking about this.
I'll tell you that even when I was playing with I was dominant on my right side when I went to play in Japan, it was really my Japanese coaches that were just like, I can even throw with my left. Like pretty much as far not as far with my right, but as accurate and on point. Like, and they were very just central, like everything has to be just equal, period. And yeah, I make my keepers do that too. I'm like, I just want your body balance. Not that I think you're ever going to throw the ball with your left hand. I go, but at least you're balanced, So I get it.
I think the first time I threw a ball with my left hand, it looked so bad. It was definitely not the right technique. It was a good laugh though. Not gonna lie, I had it recorded.
It was a good laugh for me too. I was like, "You want me to do what?" They're like, "Oh." oh, you're on the U.S. national team. You can't throw the ball that far with your left hand. I was like, I haven't really had to.
No.
I was working a college ID camp years back, and I remember at the college ID camp, one of the coaches there told, and these are all kids who were trying to go and play at this college and everything like that. He said, all right, now throw with your weak hand, and you saw just stud athletes just turn into like rec players like overnight, like
really, really awkward. Like, yeah.
Oh my God.
It's true.
It was so weird. All right, Hannah, we're gonna pull up some clips here. We're gonna go through these right now.
All right.
Let's do this here. All right. So let me I'm gonna put this into the let's see here. All right. Can everybody see right here? All right, cool. Nope, that's me. That is not it. Nope, that's not it. There we go. All right, beautiful. Okay, so what's going on right here, Hannah? I think this was against Spurs. I think it might have been this past weekend, actually. This is just an example here. Hitting a dead ball. It's a long distance goal kick, which is kind of becoming a thing of the past. A lot of teams aren't even playing distance goal kicks anymore. It seems like everything is a build out short ball. But what you're recognizing right here is you're recognizing a numbers up situation, it looks like. And so you're bypassing this line here into the midfield. Let's just kind of play it through here. Nope, that's the wrong ball. That is the wrong ball.
That was the wrong one.
Yeah, that is the wrong one. You're like, oh no, that was not the one. Not the one. All right, let's see here if I can find. There we go. It looked the same. What do you want from me? It's a dead ball situation.
I expect better, Mike. I expect better.
Okay. So anyway, so ball's hit right here. We're gonna see it now. There you go. Wide channel, numbers up situation. Boom. Great. And now we're able to get a final action in the attacking third right here. I kind of want to play it here from just this spot right here. So Hannah, what are you seeing when you scan the field right here?
Well, what we did is we brought our left-sided midfielder and one of our strikers to double up on their fullback. I think the wrong person got it in the end. It should have been the other one. Rather than the flick on, you could have easily have controlled it with the other player. But I think just the numerical advantage, like you were saying, is always what I'd look for. And also, depending on who I'm passing to, where they prefer to receive it. Because people in certain teams won't want to head the ball, won't want to control it with the chest or anything. So I think instead of Jamie getting it, who flicks it on, it should have gone to Emily, who would have had control.
I love how focused you are on attention to detail right there, because I was just going to be like, this is brilliant. She did exactly what she was trying to do. And you're like, no, you're like, it almost came across the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, I'm quite picky on my own performances, as you probably just realized. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's why Saskia's like, are you sure you don't have college eligibility? Saskia, anything you want to add right here?
No, and I agree. First of all, going plus, what do we got? Plus 10 on a driven ball is awesome. I agree with you. 35, Jamie, is that her name? I'm not sure. If that had gone to her, she had time to control it, but it's still being able to put that ball technically where you want it. So it's not a 50-50 ball. So kids out there watching and stuff like this is a ball with purpose. That is your first pass on attack. It's not a floated ball. Again, we have to look at it like if you float that ball, that gives their defense time to adjust. And then that does become a 50-50 ball. It's a driven ball with purpose, which it's brilliant. It's good.
Yeah, and Hannah, I think one of the really cool things that you said right there is that, recognizing the numbers up situation is so important. And I think a lot of young goalkeepers, they don't do that. They look at like space and they're like, okay, where can I hit the ball, to a player, but not as opposed to recognize it from a tactical standpoint. Okay, like what's the matchup situation going to be on the second movement after they make contact with the ball? That is so vital here, right? Yeah,
definitely. You've got to know say if Emily controlled that instead, then she's got to know what's around her, and I know that she's got Claudia on a 9 running into the channel that she can she can double up and give them more numbers in the wide channels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's. I want to pull up this this clip here. So this next one right here. All right. Let's see if I can find this one right here, because this one is going to be becoming a separation of balls. Okay. So let's see if I can find this one here.
You know what's funny about this game, though? You know, like very back at the beginning when we said the struggles with numbers in Birmingham. So I had to wear outfielder socks, right?
In case I was going to ask you that.
So we only had one sub, and the other sub was the second goalkeeper.
Wait, Hannah, were you playing in my men's league? What is going on here?
No, I was going to ask you if you had to play field.
So if there was an injury, I would have gone outfield and the keeper would have gone in goal. So I had to wear outfield socks because the ref wouldn't allow you to stop the play so you can go get your kit change. So I had to wear like white underskins, the blue socks. I had a shirt printed for me on the bench, an outfielder shirt. I had the shorts already. So I was obviously not hoping anyone got injured, but secretly I was a bit like, any chance I can get
Absolutely. First half in goal, second half out.
I know awesome. One of our players got hit in the head, I think about 70 minutes. And there was a stoppage and they had to get like all the doctors on. And I went over to the bench and was like, any chance? Like, is it happening? And they were like, no, back in goal you go. And I was like, oh, gutted.
Is it happening? I love it.
That honestly sounds like my men's league. Like the goalkeeper's just like, he's like second half I can play on the field, right? Like if we're up by like 3 goals, I can just play on the field. Like second half. Oh, I tried to play on the field yesterday. A year out of playing. In goal was okay. On the field, that was rough. Although my touch was much better in regards to recognizing where to play my first touch because of all the podcasts we've done in the past year. I was speaking of in hands. I want to bring up this clip right here. So this is, I think it's again the same game right here, but you had the ball in your hands. You put the ball on the ground. You recognize the separation. That's why you put the ball in the hand to allow your team time to get up the field. And then when you get the chase on you, you recognize the right play. So let me pull this guy up right here if we can find it. All right, let's see here. This is not it. No, that's a different one. That's an awesome one though. That's the one I wanted to show. Oh, okay, here it is. So it starts right here. Whoop. All right, there. So ball's in your hand right here. So you see the separation. Once the chase starts coming immediately right here, you clip that ball there, and you're willing to take the risks, which is important. What a ball! Are you kidding me? Just leading that attack. Saskia's like, oh boy.
Plus 35. Jesus Christ.
I mean, Hannah, like, are you a Marvel hero? Like, who are you?
I know,
you might have one of the strongest feet I've ever seen.
That's impressive.
I was like hoping for a better touch. I was like, my aim this year was to get an assist. That was my one.
I had Lauren. I was like, she almost got it. Like 3 times she almost got it, serving Mia over the top, like into space. And I was like, oh, it'll come. I've gotten an assist.
Now, Hannah, were you worried here when this chase started coming right here, and that you struck that ball that like she was a little too close to you for you to be able to lift that ball, or were you pretty confident in that situation?
No. I mean, I know Rach quite well. She was at Birmingham previously, so I know that once she comes, she would jump. So it was about a different technique to get the height at the beginning, but then it obviously leveling out and becoming a bit more direct with the driven, so it didn't keep the height, didn't get snow on the way over. That's what we always say.
I like that.
So
I'm gonna have to use that. Sorry.
Free.
Lauren, that got snow on the way over. Of course, I live in Southern California, so people will be like, "What?"
But it's also the bend. It's also the bend there, Hannah. It's also the bend there because I think the really cool thing is that you bent that ball away towards the sidelines to allow that separation for your oncoming player, so they were able to shield the ball as they were coming onto that ball. Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they hit that ball, they would hit it into that space, but they wouldn't. I mean, that's such understanding again, like the runs and understanding the best place to play the ball for your teammate. Plus what you said there in regards to Rachel, right? Who was chasing you, was that you knew that she was going to jump, and that how you specifically had to lift that ball, but not so much height that it was going to allow the other player, once you did get the ball to your teammate, to have a chance for 50-50. I mean, that's in my opinion, that's world class.
I think if I did like a straight ball into the channel, their defender would have been ahead, so she would have picked up the first balls. So I think with that bit of curve on it, it kind of put the defender off from going to head it or thinking that she can win it at all. So it was definitely a case of having to put that bit of curve. So Jamie knew that she could easily get that ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a really, really great point right there. I want to move on to this one right here, because this is the clip I really would love to show right here. This is awesome in my opinion. Let's see if I can get it back up here.
He does music while he's doing clips, if you haven't
Yes, I do. Okay. So
it's like elevator music.
So here's a play. Obviously your team's being pressured, so they play the pass back to you here. Now, as you see this pass back right here, you recognize all that space that you have, but the second you take the touch, you see the chase continues. So rather than taking a small touch and then trying to play a lifted ball, you move laterally, creating depth for yourself and momentum, also shielding that ball from that player. And now you waited until that space was open, and now you play a great ball, bypassing that line right to the midfield right there. Again, I mean, my opinion, Hannah, I mean, this is the reason why at 20 years old, you're being looked at by the senior team. I mean, this is next level type stuff. Yeah.
I think if I'm being extra picky, I think my touch shouldn't have gone sideways, but yeah.
Okay.
Just because then it makes you readjust. Whereas if it was a bit forward, obviously I've had to go back. I've had to take that step back. So if the press was quicker or it was a bit more aggressive, then they could probably have nicked it a bit. So I think if I took my touch a bit more forward, then I come onto it, and it speeds up the play, so I can get it to our player quicker, and that she doesn't get pressed from behind it as quick. But also maybe I can then look for the one in beyond earlier, because I do quite remember it that there was Claudia was running in beyond with 1v1. So I think because of my touch going back, I couldn't get the right power behind it.
Now I see what you're talking about. That was an adjustment. That movement was off the ball was an adjustment based on where that first touch was. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So it kind of changed my decision on where I had to go, because I couldn't get the distance.
I mean that's good, but that's great that you're bringing up improvisation, which is something that Saskia always brings up, is that you have to be able to improvise. Things aren't always going to go the way you plan on them going, and you're going to have to be able to make those adjustments, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. No, I mean, and it can be something that is simple. The touch is off, or whatever. You have to be there are always multiple options. You have to be able to see them.
Yeah. Now, I have a question here, Hannah, in regards to this, because obviously one of the things that I love, and I know Saskia, this is something that you always talk about as well too. Whenever we have young pros on the show, or even older, pros, but is that everyone brings up what didn't go the way they expected it to, and what adjustments they made, or what they could have done better. I think that's kind of, and Saskia, this is something where you've talked about the pro mentality. That's that professional mentality that I want a lot of young goalkeepers who might be listening to this right now or watching this right now to really hear. That's what separates you from an amateur player, in my mind at least. Saskia, I don't know how you feel.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of rhetorical.
Yeah, I guess that was rhetorical. Look, I played soccer yesterday. Okay, my mind's not all there. I'm still recovering. I have a hernia. I answered my own question. I missed you. I missed you because Omar's too scared to do this stuff. He's like, he'll just let it slide. He'll just let it slide. Fine. We'll bring up to you, Hannah. When you're watching video analysis, and let's say a clip like that yourself, with your coaches or even on your own, post match or whatever, are you taking notes? What's the first thing are you noticing? Are you noticing the action that was successful, or are you noticing what adjustment you had to make?
No, I think what I could improve are the adjustments I made. I don't think one game this season I've been happy with everything. So I'm very picky, and I'll always look for the improvements because I've got quite an elite mindset that I won't stand for what I can do already. I'll look to see what I can improve, and then that can only put me in good stead for further games or even for selection processes and everything. Because I'm always wanting to improve stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead, Saskia.
No, that's awesome.
No, I heard
there's
you.
There's always stuff to improve. You're always learning. Always.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Even me after my scrimmage yesterday.
Oh my God, you will not get off this scrimmage yesterday.
I'm not going to get off it because I played soccer. I was so excited. I was so excited to not be striking balls at people and actually be involved.
Can you imagine if he scored or if he had pulled one out of the upper 90? I'm never gonna hear the end of it.
Oh my gosh, my flighted ball work though was so much better because I was reading the run so much better from the podcast.
I did this to myself. This is my fault. Sorry.
You did. You did. Hannah, I don't know if you know this. There's been a pandemic this past year, so it's been very difficult for us to play soccer. So we're very excited when we get the opportunity. But Saskia has a lore that she has to keep. So
this is right.
She's not going to hop in there with the girls.
That's absolutely right. You are dead right. I'm they know I can do it. They assume I can do it better than them. I'm not getting in that goal. As long as they have that in their mind, all good. It's all good.
I want to talk about clearing. Because this is, I think, a really important thing, because a lot of young goalkeepers, in my opinion, when they hear, and we've talked about this on the show so many times, keeper, clear the ball. Because again, the biggest pet peeve for Saskia is people telling the keeper what to do. But when they hear clear it, they just hit the ball. They don't even look to see where the options are, Hannah, is that something that kind of you've worked on throughout the years, so that in an emergency situation, you're still so composed that you at least have an idea of what area you want to hit it to that's not a dangerous area?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've done a lot of sessions or extras at the end of the session where I'll get the ball set back from all over around the 18-yard box, and I'll get told which direction to hit it in, whether it's left, over the top of the left, central, right, and I'll have to adjust, and it will have to be first time. So when it comes to a game situation, wherever our nines or our numbers are, then it comes as second nature as such, and I could just do it without thinking.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something, yes, even though sometimes with pressure on that first time clearing, coaches out there and players out there still has to be a purpose, because if your team's under so much pressure, that you do have to first time clear it, you still don't want to send it to their 6'3" center back who's just going to shove it right back down your throat. You want to still find the space, find the right space, find your numbers and everything. You still have to control the ball. Sometimes you can put it in the stands, but you still have to try to control the ball.
But I think the stigma is at the youth level is that if you cleared the ball, you're not playing possession, or you're panicking or whatever. And I think that's something that young goalkeepers need to hear, Hannah, is it's okay to clear the ball. It's all about alleviating pressure. It's the same thing as when you hit a long punt. You're allowing, sometimes you hit it with a lot of air underneath, as you like to say, with some snow on it, to allow your team to get up the field. There's nothing wrong with relieving pressure and living another day.
No, definitely. I think once you relieve the pressure, oppositions are going to be more used to, as soon as it's coming back to you, you're just going to strike it long. So then they might drop off, enticing you to play out. So they can obviously start their press again instead of you clearing their lines and beating their press. So it's kind of earning the right to play rather than just smashing it, because you've got to smash a few for them to drop, and then you can start playing out.
Yeah, and that's really important. I think you see a lot of goalkeepers. You know how I feel about players being so literal. hey, we're gonna try to build out of the back. We're gonna build out of the back. We're gonna do this. You have to understand what's going on during the game. And if you need to hit a couple long balls to alleviate pressure so that you can now build out of the back so that the team drops off, because nobody wants to sit there and run and chase you if all you're doing is sending long balls. Eventually that line of pressure is going to get lower, and now you can build out of the back. But you can't. You see so many goalkeepers get caught up in, well, I'm supposed to play possession out of the back, and they give a bad pass when it's just not the right time. And they're giving the ball away because they're so literal. This is what I'm supposed to do. Not all the time,
And I think, Hannah, I think you brought up a really good point in regards to, tactically, is that, you have to showcase to the other club what you're capable of doing. And if they recognize what you're capable of, that's going to give you more options moving forward. I mean, it's such a great point on there, on that right there.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess, well, Hannah, I mean, I guess, obviously, it's 9 o'clock for you right now. Us, we're just getting our day going. So we're going to start wrapping up and everything like that. But, kind of before, as we start kind of wrapping up, first off, thanks for taking the time. Again, I know we've been trying to connect since I think it was last July or August or something like that. And for the longest time, I was like,
she's been kind of busy.
She's been kind of busy. For the longest time, I'm not even going to try anymore. I think she just doesn't want to do it or whatever. And then I start learning about everything that's going on over there. And I'm like, oh, this is the least important thing going on right now. She's got a lot going on.
That's quite a stressful year.
Oh my gosh. No. So I was fine. All right, fine. I guess we'll try again. We'll try again. And then I felt so bad when I contacted, and, they're like, guys, I just want to let you know she does want to do the show. It's just that right now we're in a relegation battle. Yeah. And
like I said, she's been kind of busy.
Oh my gosh. As we wrap up, Hannah, there's any young goalkeepers out there, that want to kind of learn, from a technical standpoint, how to hit balls clean for distance, because you drive really solid balls, and I think that's one of the most difficult things for younger goalkeepers to do with distance is hit a driven ball. What are some tips that you would recommend?
I think once you've struck the ball, your follow through can't be too high. Because once it is, you've leant back, and the ball's just going to get the height. So you've got to kind of get the balance on. You're not leaning over it too much that it's going to be a driven on the floor, and you're not leaning too back that it's going to get the snow. But you've got to get that medium balance that it's going to stay just below the wind level, so it'll get that driven effect. But I think it's all about your approach to the ball as well, rather than coming from an angle or coming around the ball. You've got to come straight at it, so it's kind of like a stabbing effect, with not a lot of backlift, and obviously keeping your body not too open that you slice it, and not too close that you hook it. Yeah.
Saskia, anything you want to add to that?
Nope.
You're like, that's succinct. I wish she had college eligibility. Oh my gosh.
I'm a day late and $1 short with this one.
Oh man. Well, Hannah, thanks honestly for taking the time. I want you to be able to plug your social media, because you have literally, I was looking at it, it's you're 20 years old and you are getting close to 60,000 followers already. So you're doing something right on social media. I'll tell you that right now. You're doing it the right way too. There's some people out there, who have a big following for the wrong reasons. And I think,
gosh, where are you going with this?
I'm going with this. If you want to follow her, where's the best place on social media to follow your career, because you put some really cool stuff up there. So
I mean, I do try. Yeah.
Go ahead and plug it.
Go ahead and plug it.
I don't actually know what my Instagram. I think it's Hannah Hampton __ Hannah Hampton. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really run my social media.
Oh, okay. So now the
big
cat's
time.
out of the bag. Now the cat's out of the bag.
Big time.
Breaking the fourth wall right there. It's like the Wizard of
Wow.
Oz behind the counter.
I just do like the odd thing. I just do the odd thing.
Well, I still run mine. So
yeah, your team is doing a great job. Let's let them know. Yeah, let them know they're doing a great
we'll
doing
post
a great
it up
job.
there. You'll post it up.
If you want to follow Saskia, who runs her own social media, you can follow her.
Apparently, obviously, I do.
At Saskia_Webber. Contact at insidethe18media.com if you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. If you want to follow me directly for anything comedy related, at Michael Magid. That's why it's been up there the entire time, so I didn't have to plug it at the end. Everyone could just see that handle and they go, where do I find out stuff that has nothing to do with soccer? That tag right there. Maybe it's not where I should do first a goalkeeping podcast, but anyway, that's what we chose to do. All right, Saskia's giving me the shake head, which means we need to end the show. That's all the time for Inside the 18, and we are out. Here comes the outro. Right. We are